Right now on Good Morning America First Look, the breaking news overnight. An American who was on that cruise ship at the center of the deadly hantavirus outbreak has now tested positive for the virus. The latest on the evacuation and quarantine efforts.
New questions about airport security after a deadly collision on this runway in Denver, all caught on camera.
A new push to save drivers money on gas as hopes for a peace deal with Iran hit a setback. And as more Americans face higher prices at the pump, U.S. Transportation Secretary defends taping a new reality show.
A stunning crash. A motorcycle ends up hanging from a traffic light. What we've learned about the driver.
A critical day for the Texas man accused of murdering his pregnant wife as he seeks asylum overseas.
The alleged billion-dollar sextortion scheme targeting the owner of a pro sports team.
Later, a man finds $30,000 at a gas station. What he did with it.
And the paralyzed student inspiring the crowd at his graduation by walking across the stage.
From ABC News, this is Good Morning America First Look.
Good Monday morning, everyone. I'm Sophie Flay.
And I'm Hannah Batal. We begin with breaking news overnight concerning that deadly hantavirus outbreak on a cruise ship in the Atlantic.
At least one American evacuated from the ship has now tested positive for the virus. That person is among the Americans flown overnight to the National Quarantine Unit in Omaha, Nebraska. Here's ABC's Lionel Moise.
Overnight, the Department of Health and Human Services confirming an American passenger who was on that cruise ship at the center of a deadly hantavirus outbreak has now tested positive for the virus, and another American is showing mild symptoms. They were among the 17 Americans on the cruise ship who were placed on an evacuation flight headed back to the U.S. overnight from Spain. Officials say the two were traveling in the plane's biocontainment units out of an abundance of caution.
Right there, those are the Americans finally on board that evacuation boat leaving the cruise ship. You can see there's a small group of them being ferried back and forth. They're all wearing that long blue protective gear. We've seen some of them even turn around and wave goodbye to the cruise ship.
The Americans are now headed to this facility in Nebraska. The passenger who tested positive will be taken to a specialized biocontainment unit. The others will go to the National Quarantine Unit for assessment and monitoring. That same biocontainment unit back in 2014 cared for Americans with the Ebola virus who'd been medically evacuated from Africa. And in 2020, some of the first Americans diagnosed with COVID were treated there. The CDC has previously said there will be no mandatory quarantine for the people not showing hantavirus symptoms. They'll be allowed to either go home or self-monitor for 42 days or stay at the quarantine center. It remains to be seen if that will change now, given at least one positive case has been confirmed among the group. Experts emphasize this outbreak is not like the early days of COVID, and this virus is not new.
The good news is that in a sense it is hantavirus and not another coronavirus or influenza virus. This is one that has very limited ability to be transmitted person to person. In fact, it's a rare exception. And so we have no question about the fact that this really is on the end of its run right now.
The cruise, which cost around $15,000 per person, traveled to some of the most remote islands in the world, including Tristan da Cunha, an island of about 200 people. This video shows British paratroopers parachuting onto that island with medics and supplies after a suspected case of hantavirus was confirmed there. Authorities in France also confirm a French passenger on the ship experienced symptoms during their flight home. They are now under observation. Sophie, Hannah.
Lionel, thank you. 6 people have been found dead inside a cargo train boxcar in Laredo, Texas, near the Mexico border. A Union Pacific employee made the discovery at a rail yard. It's not clear how they died or if they were migrants being trafficked into the U.S. Temperatures in that area topped 90 degrees yesterday.
New questions about airport security after a deadly collision on the runway in Denver, all caught on camera. This morning, Denver's airport is reviewing security measures after a Frontier Airlines plane hit a person on a runway during takeoff. Authorities have not yet identified the person who scaled an airport fence Friday night. The surveillance video shows the person then wandering over to the runway and walking across it.
There was an individual walking across the runway. We've got smoke in the aircraft. We're going to evacuate on the runway.
The plane, with more than 230 people on board, hit the person at high speed, the impact sparking an engine fire, filling the cabin with smoke, forcing pilots to slam on the brakes and abort takeoff.
Tower Frontier 4345, we're stopping on the runway. We just hit somebody.
Passengers seen evacuating the plane using emergency slides. But some say they were stuck in the cabin for several minutes as it filled with smoke. And video shows some evacuating with their luggage, a violation of regulations. The FAA and NTSB now investigating as authorities race to explain how someone could make it onto an active runway at one of the nation's busiest airports.
The fencing at airports, the regulatory requirements are really not that robust, and that's one of the challenges.
Frontier Airlines says it is also investigating.
Now to the high price of gas and a new push to save drivers money as hopes for a peace deal with Iran hit a new setback.
Overnight, oil prices rising again after President Trump rejected Iran's response to a U.S. peace proposal. The president saying, "I have just read the response from Iran's so-called representatives. I don't like it. Totally unacceptable." The U.S. proposal called for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. In exchange, the U.S. would ease its blockade of Iranian ports for a 30-day period when both sides could negotiate a full deal.
When the mediators, in this case Pakistan, ask us, head of state to head of state, to give this negotiation another chance before we go back to bombing Iran, then I think that's completely an appropriate choice for President Trump to make.
Iran's response reportedly included a demand to end the war and lift oil sanctions. With the strait still closed, global oil prices jumped more than 3% overnight, and stocks falling over concern higher energy prices could slow the global economy. Gas prices are averaging $4.48 a gallon nationwide, up $1.50 higher since the war began. And now, an indication the Trump administration may offer some relief to drivers. The Energy Secretary suggests the administration is open to suspending the federal gas tax, which is 18 cents per gallon.
All measures that can be taken to lower the price at the pump and lower the prices for Americans, this administration is in support of.
It's a shift from last week when a White House official said suspending the gas tax was not under consideration. Meanwhile, as many Americans cut back on spending due to those high prices, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is facing backlash over his new reality show called The Great American Road Trip.
Welcome to Montana.
It follows Duffy and his family traveling across the country to celebrate the United States' 250th anniversary. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg called the series brutally out of touch, while his husband criticized it as a multi-month taxpayer-funded family road trip. But Duffy responding, saying, "Zero taxpayer dollars were spent on my family," and saying the goal of the show was to rediscover what makes America great.
As for Iran, the main sticking point remains its nuclear program, which Iran did not address in its latest response.
The parent company of Canvas, an online platform used by schools and colleges across the country, is apologizing for a massive data breach. The CEO says he's sorry for disruptions that included missed moments in the classrooms and questions that were not answered. He says hackers gained access to usernames, emails, and messages, but he says core learning data was not compromised, and he insists Canvas is safe to use and is fully operational.
A raging brush fire has burned about 5,000 acres in the Florida Everglades. So far, no homes have been lost, but one resident said her only way out was by airboat. Another fire closed roads into the Florida Keys, the flames being fueled by drought conditions. Meanwhile, a stormy few days in the Southern Plains. That dog taking cover from the large hail in Oklahoma. Separate hailstorms damaged many cars, and Texas took a direct hit from severe weather on Mother's Day. Now let's check your Monday forecast.
Good Monday morning. We've been tracking severe weather over parts of Texas overnight. High winds, hail, some isolated tornadoes. This will turn into showers and heavy thunderstorms over portions of the deep south and the southeast. Over parched areas, this is actually good news. Upwards of 1 to 2, perhaps even localized amounts up to 3 inches of rain, where the drought has been the worst over parts of Georgia and northern Florida. Meanwhile, in the west, it's all about the heat. Could be breaking records. Many this week. Las Vegas, Reno, Grand Junction, Colorado. Look at Palm Springs. Temperatures well above 100 right through tomorrow. Meteorologist Jeff Smith, ABC News.
Coming up, the deadly bear attack at a national park.
Also ahead, this incredible crash. A motorcycle ends up hanging from a traffic light. What we're learning about the driver.
And a crucial day for the Texas man accused of murdering his pregnant wife as he seeks asylum in Europe. Back now with a shocking scene. A crash near Vancouver, Canada left this motorcycle hanging from a traffic light. The rider suffered serious injuries but is expected to be okay. The driver of the car was not hurt. A witness says the crash was like seeing a movie. Another summed up the scene simply saying, wow.
The victim of a deadly bear attack in Montana's Glacier National Park has been identified. 33-year-old Anthony Polio was an avid outdoorsman from Florida. His remains were found with wounds consistent with a bear attack. His father says the last he heard from his son was a voicemail saying, "It's wild out here. I love you, Dad." Just last week, a bear attack in Yellowstone National Park left 2 brothers hospitalized.
A Texas man accused of murdering his pregnant wife is due in court today. Not in Texas, but in Europe. ABC's Allison Cossack explains.
A Texas man accused of killing his pregnant wife, then fleeing the U.S., is due in court in Italy today, where he's seeking asylum, hoping to escape a possible death sentence.
He didn't strangle his wife. He loved his wife.
Lee Gilly is accused of strangling his wife, Krista, in their Houston home in 2024. She was 9 weeks pregnant. Gilly has claimed his wife took her own life. His attorney spoke to our Houston station, KTRK.
We believe that she died because of a severe condition she had, hemoglobinemia, which mirrors the symptoms of strangulation.
While awaiting trial, Gilly was freed on a $1 million bond. And earlier this month, authorities say he cut off his ankle monitor and flew to Milan, Italy, with fake travel documents. Italy abolished the death penalty decades ago. And a treaty prohibits Italy from sending a person back to a country that still has it.
In every civilized country in the world, except the United States, there's no death penalty. And so most of those countries that have extradition treaties with the United States forbid extradition if they face the death penalty.
Texas prosecutors have not said whether they plan to seek the death penalty. But Gilly's lawyer acknowledging this about his client's case going forward.
When you flee, it can be taken as consciousness of guilt. I'm concerned about that.
The Italian judge has said he'll seek more clarification before a decision is made on returning Gilly to the U.S. Sophie, Hannah?
Allison, thanks. Coming up, the alleged billion-dollar sextortion scheme targeting a sports team owner.
Also ahead, police crack down as another teen takeover event fueled by social media rattles the public. That is singer Dua Lipa. She is now suing Samsung for using a photo of her on its TV boxes. She's demanding $15 million, claiming the company used her likeness without permission. No response yet from Samsung.
Authorities in Tampa responded this weekend to another so-called teen takeover. 22 people were arrested, most of them teenagers. One suspect is only 12. They're facing charges mostly for fighting. Police say they seized 2 handguns. It's the latest in a series of takeovers that authorities say are organized on social media, hitting everywhere from malls to parks, from New York to LA.
We turn now to an alleged case of blackmail targeting the billionaire owner of an NBA team. The case now set to go to trial. This morning, the billionaire co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, Wesley Edens, is at the center of a so-called sextortion case after his former romantic partner allegedly tried to blackmail him for more than $1 billion.
Nothing is a secret. You know, it's the chattiest business in the world.
As first reported by the Wall Street Journal, Edens met Chung-Li Lo, the founder of a New York nonprofit, in 2022. Prosecutors claim months after they began a relationship, Lo wrote Edens, claiming she'd been mentally incapacitated when they had sex, saying her home has cameras. She allegedly threatened to release compromising pictures of him. Prosecutors say Edens denied Lo's allegations but agreed to settle with her for $6.5 million. But they say Lo later demanded more than $1 billion. Prosecutors say during the investigation, FBI agents found a phone in Lo's apartment with images of Edens' face edited onto another man's body. A month later, she was arrested trying to board a flight to China. She's pleaded not guilty to blackmail and destruction of records. Her attorney saying Lo's sexual encounter with Edens was inappropriate and aggressive, saying she's seeking justice and compensation. Edens is not commenting, but he is expected to testify at the upcoming trial. Lowe was released on bond. That trial is set to begin later this year.
In the NBA playoffs, San Antonio star Victor Wembanyama was ejected last night after he elbowed Naz Reid in the throat, the first ejection of Wemby's career. He could learn today if he'll be suspended. The Timberwolves took advantage, winning 114-109. The series now tied.
There you go. There's the bat.
Coming up, a man finds $30,000 in a gas station bathroom. We'll tell you what he did with it.
Plus, Tom Brady roasting Kevin Hart. Time to check the pulse. We begin with a remarkable display of honesty.
A Florida man found a fanny pack in a gas station bathroom. Luis Salazar was shocked when he saw a wad of cash inside, more than $30,000. He says he couldn't find the owner, so he took that money to the police station, and eventually the owner got the money back after calling police to report it missing.
Salazar said he never considered keeping it because it was not his to take. And you'll need more than $30,000 if you're interested in this. It's an 11,000 carat ruby that was recently unearthed in Southeast Asia. It weighs nearly 5 pounds. Next, Kevin Hart was roasted for a Netflix special, and Tom Brady showed up.
Yeah, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was also on hand, and his frequent co-star with some of the biggest punchlines. But Brady may have gotten the biggest laugh.
And I brought you a jersey.
Oh, you son of a...
It's newborn size. Bitch you.
Give me the...
All right, sit down. Hobbit.
Yeah, bleeping there because there was lots of profanity, so we couldn't show you too much. Next, a new study finds birds are far more afraid of women than men.
Researchers say birds tend to fly away faster when they're approached by women. The men and women who approached the birds were similar in height, and women hid their long hair.
Yet researchers aren't really sure why the birds had different reactions. They say it may have something to do with their perception of movement, or evolution may have played a role because women hunted for smaller animals.
Next, the reason why people overseas are hosting Diet Coke parties.
Yeah, so Diet Coke is in short supply in parts of Asia because of the war with Iran. The problem is the can. So Diet Coke only comes in those aluminum cans in India, and aluminum shipments are down because of the war. So bars are hosting these parties to take advantage of the demand. Next, a major step for a college graduate paralyzed from the chest down.
Jaden Picot delighted his classmates when he walked across the stage at Virginia Union University with the help of a robotics exoskeleton. He wants to use his degree to help others with disabilities.
Yeah, he says he's never allowed his injury to dictate his future.
Checking more top stories, an American passenger from the cruise ship hit by that deadly hantavirus outbreak has tested positive for the virus on a medical evacuation flight. The plane arrived in Nebraska overnight with 17 Americans on board. The patient who's positive will now head to a biocontainment unit. The others will go into quarantine for monitoring. A French passenger also tested positive.
The remains of one of the 2 U.S. soldiers missing after a training exercise in Morocco have been recovered. Officials say the 2 soldiers fell off a cliff.
Hopes for a peace deal with Iran have hit a setback. President Trump says Iran's response to a U.S. proposal are, quote, totally unacceptable. Oil prices were up overnight.
A nationwide chocolate recall is expanding. Spring and Mulberry is recalling chocolate bars because of possible salmonella contamination.
Today's weather, the Southwest could see record heat, and there's rain from Texas to Virginia with storms in drought-hit areas of Georgia and Florida.
And finally, a mom helping her son whose name might sound familiar.
Here's Danny New.
Hello, Bedford Falls!
I don't know how many movies are more beloved than It's a Wonderful Life.
My name is Bedford.
But a child who's named after the film's setting, Bedford Falls, is coming pretty close.
How old are you, buddy?
3.
You're 3. His name is Bedford, and over the past year...
It's okay. Pull up.
He has been winning over the hearts of millions online as he fights through a rare condition. You can hear his mother, Holly, encouraging him at a playground near their Illinois home.
I know some people might disagree to try to teach tenacity and grit to your 3-year-old, but he has risen to the challenge.
At 15 months old, Bedford was diagnosed with Schwartz-Jampel syndrome, which is super rare, like only about 150 reported cases rare. As his father, Jesse, describes the symptoms,
if you think about how your muscles feel when you're like lifting weights, that's how he feels in all muscles.
Got it?
But their lives changed forever when Holly posted this video last May and shared how she wished more playgrounds were accessible for Bedford. Suddenly, she got the attention of a nonprofit that works in building accessible playgrounds called Unlimited Play.
And so I kind of jokingly was like, I'm going to figure out how to build a playground.
Well, 12 months later, thanks to the way Bedford has inspired so many people online, they have now raised about $500,000 to build an accessible playground, sport court, and pavilion at Bedford's new school.
You're welcome, bud.
In fact, a few weeks ago, they even broke ground, and Bedford, of course, swung by to fist bump and thank the construction workers.
Life is hard, but life is also wonderful.
So they're still fundraising for the pavilion, but their hope is to open everything for summer. And guys, by the way, that school is preschool through 12th grade, so Bedford and his classmates should be able to enjoy it for a long time.
Oh, that's amazing.
It really is.
That's your GMA First Look.
Have a great day.